So are you ready to see your DNA results?
Yes.
You want to see them?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes. Irish, Scottish, Welsh, okay. Baltic is the first one, 23.8%.
Is it what you were expecting at all?
Not at all.
What's going on, guys? Wade here. I'm the Millennial Stone Cleaner, and we are here to uncover some mysteries, family secrets, history, and I'm joined today by Leah Bauer. She's number 7 on the track and has been riding Polaris all her life, so it's fitting that we're here at AirTech Sports, her local dealership. She's been racing since she was 17 and hasn't looked back, destroying sleds on frozen ocean ice, racing off the coast of Alaska, to having her sled burned down in a fire in the Iron Dog endurance race. Leah, we were on the phone not long after your sled burned down in the Iron Dog, and that was a really tough moment for you. We know that everybody in their life has tough moments and tough experiences, including your ancestors. So are you ready to learn about some of these?
I am. I'm excited.
Awesome. So we know that your dad got you into racing, is that right?
Yes.
So let's start on that side of the family. So your grandpa, Jack Bauer, was born to parents who were a little older than average when he was born. They had 11 children. He was one of 11. And his dad passed away when your grandpa was just 14 years old. So do you have any really great memories that stand out from your grandpa?
I don't. I was pretty young when he passed away, so I don't have a lot of memories. I've seen pictures, though, and from the pictures I kind of remember like small things, but no, I don't have a lot.
Okay.
So it's pretty interesting. I'm excited to learn
Awesome.
more.
So let's go back one more generation to his parents, Frank and Catherine. So will you open your book?
Sure.
So on the first page, that's the 1920 census of your great-grandparents.
That's crazy.
You can see that they moved to a farm in Medford, Wisconsin. And in addition to farming, Frank sold soft drinks. So you can see right on there in 1920 what that family was doing, and that's where Frank and Catherine were.
Wow.
Do you have any stories that you've ever been told about that generation?
No, not this generation. But I'll definitely be asking my dad about it.
So if you'll turn the page, you're going to see a photo of Frank.
Yeah.
The 1930 census lists your family as dairy farmers. In addition to his obituary, it indicates that he served 2 years as the county sheriff. He ran an office of a brewing company, and then he also operated 2 different bars in Medford.
Okay, that's crazy. That's so interesting.
Do you think he resembles anybody in your family?
He does look like my grandpa. Yeah. Yeah, he definitely looks like my grandpa. That's wild.
So where do you think he got the idea for law enforcement?
I don't know. I don't have a clue.
Let's turn the page. This is Nicholas Bauer, his father. Nicholas Bauer and his wife, Anna Maria, is your connection to Germany.
Okay. All right. I've been told that I have German in me, so that's good to know where that came from.
So they arrived together in New York in 1868, and by 1880, they were living in Wisconsin.
Wow.
There was a family of 6. You can see the male children here in the photo, and in the 1900 census, Nick was the county sheriff.
Wow, that's crazy.
So we can see that parents influence their children here.
Yep, makes total sense.
So we were able to look back to your 5th great-grandfather, Heinrich Bauer. He was married to Anna Maria, and they were both born in 1780.
Wow.
What you see on that page is the birth record for George Jacob. And you can see that there with that little triangle. That's the indication for his birth in Germany in 1800. He was born in Pirmasens, Germany, and it's really near the western border, and it's only about an hour if you're the one driving fast to Luxembourg.
Okay.
So it's right along the German-French border and about an hour from Luxembourg, again, if you are the one driving, not me.
Okay.
So that is your connection with the Bauers to Germany.
Wow, that's very cool. That's so interesting.
So did you grow up in a German community? Did you know about some of your German heritage?
Not really, no. I've just always been told that I'm part German and it's on my dad's side, so it's really interesting to know how it dates back and where it comes from. It's very cool.
Yeah. So your paternal line is heavily influenced by Germany.
Very cool. That's crazy.
So let's move over to your paternal grandmother. So this is Jane Pettibone.
Yes.
So she was a teacher.
Yes.
She taught physical education.
Yep.
Did you know that she ran a dance studio?
I don't know if I knew that or not. I think I might have known that. I think my dad might have said something about that.
Her mother was Della. Della graduated from the Stout Institute.
Huh.
Do we know what that is?
Yes, I went to Stout.
Exactly. So you went to the same school as your great-grandmother.
That's so crazy.
So your grandma definitely had a hard time. Her dad died before she was out of the house. And with that, we know in that time that sometimes the male was the sole breadwinner. And so your grandma was left there as a young child with a mother who was then looking for work. Della went and worked as the boys' supervisor in Janesville. She was at the school for the visually handicapped for 22 years.
Huh, interesting.
And this was a campus that she lived on. And so she wasn't able to take your grandmother with her on that property.
Sure.
So I'm sure she was visiting and so forth, but she wasn't living there on the property with all of the other students and faculty.
Sure.
But we could see from the obituary that it listed, as well as the census data, we could see that Della was there at that school for the visually impaired for many decades, and we can see her listed there as living on that property as the supervisor of the boys.
Interesting.
So the important part of the story that you shared is that you believe that she was adopted.
That's what I've always been told. Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what that story is in your own words?
I believe my dad has told me that she was left on a church doorstep. And so she didn't know her parents or her heritage or anything like that. That's basically all I know. I haven't really asked more about it. I was just like, that's what it was. So we just went with that.
Well, we have no reason to believe that story is not accurate. We would assume that it would be. But we wanted to verify that because we as researchers don't have access to sealed adoption records. That's something that you as the family in certain periods of time could request from the state, and you could have adoption records that would be unsealed by a court, but that's not something we have access to. But we have your DNA. And we went through and we looked at that, and of the thousands of matches that you have from your DNA, we cross-referenced that with known names, known last names, so Pettibone and other descendants of that line, and we didn't find any.
Interesting.
So no matches would generally confirm that adoption story.
I've always wondered, I was like, is he just messing with me or is this a real thing? Is this accurate? Interesting. Very cool.
So that's where your DNA starts helping uncover some clues for us. So while not family from a DNA perspective, we believe the Pettibones are of course still family. So let's take a look. Leah, your comes from a long line of Pettibones immigrating to the US from Wales. This is your 8th great-grandfather, Samuel Pettibone, who came here in the middle of the 1600s. Samuel was a farmer and served as a lieutenant in the local militia. But your family also has a long line of military history, serving through the Revolutionary War in the local militia here. Samuel and his wife Judith had a son, Jonathan. Jonathan then married Martha. So Jonathan served as a colonel in the Revolutionary War and died of disease during that time in Rye, New York. And it's indicated here in the headstone, and it reads, in memory of Colonel Jonathan Pettibone, who departed this life at Rye in the state of New York and was buried there at the head of the regiment in defense of his country, September 26, 1776, in the 67th year of his life. This is then a cenotaph. A cenotaph indicates a marker that we're honoring the person here, but they're not actually buried here. This was erected by his wife Martha later after she passed. So these two stones were put together. This is a cenotaph. He's not buried here. He's buried in Rye, New York, where he passed away to illness. He was with his son at the time. Jonathan and Martha had a son, Ozias, who Ozias also served with Jonathan during that time. And so he was by his side when his father passed away. Granby, Connecticut, when your 3rd great-grandfather, Hiram, moved to Ohio in the 1830s, before then moving in 1855 to Wisconsin. He settled in Portage. We're in front of the grave of his ancestor, General Chauncey Pettibone, and this is one of the individuals that served in the Revolutionary War. He was a general there, and this is a historic stone that's been set inside this more modern granite stone because it had sort of fallen apart, so they've reworked this. Now the inscription on the reverse here reads that General Chauncey Pettibone, he was a captain's aide in the Revolutionary War. It talks about his ancestry here. He was the son of Sybil Guernsey and Captain Osiris Pettibone. This is another individual that served in the Revolutionary War. And then he was married to his wife, Theodosia Hayes. She traveled on to Ohio and was buried in Delaware, Ohio, beside their son, Milo.
Interesting. That's crazy.
So we know that the Pettibones may not be related through DNA, but certainly they have their own history, and I thought that was really neat to be able to share that.
That's so interesting.
So we had Leah take a DNA test from today's sponsor, MyHeritage, and I'm pretty excited to show you this. This is cool stuff.
I'm excited too.
A lot of this has been proven out in the genealogy work that we've did, but there's also some mysteries. All right, same thing. Hit play when you're ready.
Baltic? Irish, Scottish, Welsh, okay. English, okay. Native and West European. Huh. That's crazy. Wow. That's so interesting. Yeah. Baltic is the first one. 23.8%. The Irish, I kind of had a suspicion because I've always been told that I'm Irish as well. I was also told that I probably have some French or French Canadian somewhere along the lines through my mom's side.
Okay.
But yeah, very interesting.
Today's video sponsor, MyHeritage, they are a leading family history and DNA service, making it really easy to explore your family history. DNA tests are super simple to use. It's just simply a cheek swab. From there, you get results that are really amazing tools on their website, use it to analyze it, and connect with your matches. You can actually write people that are out there that you have matches with. They give you a breakdown of 42 ethnicities, 2,114 different geographic regions around the world. So if you'd like to see your own results just like Leah, check out myheritage.com/TikTok and use the code MSC because I'm the Millennial Stone Cleaner. So MSC as the code and grab their Black Friday sale. It's $33 in free shipping instead of the normal $89.
It's a pretty good deal.
So let's take a look at your mom's side, the Trimble family.
Yes.
This is your maternal side, and Grandpa Trimble. So he passed away when you were really young.
Yep.
Do you have any memories that stick out in your mind?
I have a few. Yeah, I remember being at their house when I was little, and I would always dance on his feet. Yeah, I did that with both grandparents, actually. But yeah, I remember a few things, just vaguely of that.
So let's go back one more generation. Let's look at your great-grandparents. It would be Henry and Harriet, and she went by Hattie. So what tires do you want to run on your race car, Leah?
Hoosiers?
Your great-grandfather worked for 35 years and was the foreman of U.S. Rubber Company.
Yeah, that's nuts.
He was making tires in Eau Claire. That company had the largest contract with General Motors, and they were one of the world's largest OEM tire manufacturers. So what's this about Hoosier tires?
Hoosier tires.
Because that's
Yep.
not them. That's them there in the front.
Okay. I feel like I've seen pictures of her before. She looks familiar to me.
So you told me that you wondered if you were French Canadian or had French in your line. Go ahead and turn the page. I'd like you to meet your third great-grandparents, Henry Sr. and Adelia Trimble, born in Quebec, Canada.
Okay, there it is.
So both of them were born in Quebec.
Crazy.
But from our genealogy work, we found that while the Trimbles spent a few short years in Quebec, including birth, they were originally from present-day Northern Ireland and Belfast.
Okay.
So there's your Irish connection.
Yeah.
They moved from Ireland, Northern Ireland, the Belfast area, and we can trace them back to nearly the 1600s.
Wow.
But as we know from immigration, people move, and as you travel across the ocean, that there was different ports of landing, and certainly, for us here in the U.S., New York was certainly a big one. but Canada was receiving immigrants as well. And people were looking to be around others that they had from their home country, people that they may have known, languages that they had spoken, dialects that they had, but ultimately they moved. And so this is your French-Canadian connection.
That's so interesting. That's very cool.
So genealogy sometimes uncovers things that are not as good. And Henry and Delia had 3 children. Minnie, their daughter, was the executor of the will, but we uncovered a little bit of a family rift. Go ahead and turn the page. This is Henry Sr.'s will. And it says, and I quote, "For the reason that I do not consider any of them to be morally entitled to be given my property." And what it writes in there is that he removed the 2 men, the 2 male children. So Minnie was the executor of the will and retained all of his belongings, all of his property, all of his assets. But the 2 boys in the family were expressly written out for that reason, that they are not morally entitled to be given any of my property. It makes me wonder the mood.
Yeah.
So let's switch again to your maternal grandmother. So that's Rosemary.
Yep.
So I texted you this photo. Go ahead and turn the page.
Yes.
So I texted you that photo. So Leah and I, we were texting. She really wanted to know her information, so I'd feed her little nuggets of things from time to time and try and keep her a little bit engaged and whet her appetite. And so I shared this photo of her. And what we're seeing here is her acting in a school play. What did you think about when you saw this?
It definitely looks like her. I could tell right away that was her. Yep, my eyes went right to it. That's so funny.
Did you share it with your family?
I showed my mom. Yep, I thought that was pretty cool. I had to show her. But it's funny because my brother growing up in high school was in plays and he did all kinds of acting and stuff like that in high school. Yeah, it's crazy how it all comes full circle.
Right. Go ahead and turn the page. So if we look one generation beyond Rosemary, her grandparents, your great-grandparents, were Pat and Maud O'Connell. His formal name would be Patrick, but went by Pat. And this is them at a wedding. Pat's obituary said that they lived in Chippewa Falls. Were you familiar with that? You probably have a good connection.
Yeah, our family is, a lot of them are from Chippewa Falls. Yep, so that makes sense.
Do you like popcorn?
I like popcorn.
Do you hate when it gets stuck in your teeth?
Yes.
He had a popcorn wagon.
Really?
For 30 years, he operated a popcorn wagon at the corner of Bridge and Grand Avenue in Chippewa Falls.
Wow, that's crazy. I had no idea. This stuff was just mind-blowing.
He was also a shoemaker and an alderman of the 7th Ward, and later in life, he sold headstones.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know that either.
So let's talk about Maud for a second. So Maud's name was Catherine Maud Gormley, born in Wisconsin to John Charles Gormley and Rosanna McManus. It's another example of the question about French Canadians. So you have this over here on this line as well. John Charles himself was born in Quebec. So on that line, through the women, with Maud, you have the French Canadian connection as well. So there was more Quebec births.
Interesting.
Likewise, Rosanna, the mom, she was born in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
But her father was from County Down in Ireland.
Okay.
And her maternal grandparents were from County Monaghan in Ireland. And so that explains why there really is no French DNA that's being picked up, because
Right.
really it's people from Quebec, French Canadian in that area, very French centric, but folks from Ireland were living
Right.
there as well.
That's so interesting. That makes sense.
County Down and County Monaghan, Ireland. Got a little Irish in you.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Maybe that's why you're feisty.
Probably.
So I love my followers, and I've got followers from all over the world, and I had the opportunity to work with one on this project. So to take a look at the rest of the O'Connell history, I'd like you to meet Philip Murphy. Philip is a farmer in Ireland and whose ancestors lived in the same area as your family. And so let's take a look at what Phil put together for us.
Hello and welcome to Cahir, County Tipperary. Cahir is known for its large Norman castle in the middle of the town and a Swiss cottage. It's located here between the Galtee Mountains and the Knockmeal Down Mountains. So your grandmother, on your maternal line's maiden name, is Rosemary O'Connell. We can trace that line to here, the old parish church, by way of a baptism record. That record is of your fourth grandfather, Patrick Connell, born and then baptised in this building in 1779. His father was Edmundy
That
Connell,
is so awesome.
and his mother was Honora Kenny.
Well, I guess I need to go on vacation now. Go check it out.
Isn't it stunning?
It is. Yeah.
It's so beautiful.
It's crazy. I love that. Yeah, I would love to see that. I would love to go there and visit.
You and your mom.
I know.
You gotta go.
I know.
Of what I have for you.
Very cool.
What did you think?
I think it's awesome. Genealogy and everything is just crazy how far back you can go and the things that you can find out. It's really cool.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Having a DNA test, being able to do genealogy work, it's so fun. And to be able to find that connection for you. So thank you for letting us do this for you.
Yeah,
This
of
was
course.
very cool.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. This is awesome to know. I really am excited about this. Cool. You're gonna have to edit out my stomach growling. I'm getting hungry. So I was like,